Hey, what's going on YouTube, and welcome to this video. Today we're going to be using the Freelab beta and now setting up a SIP trunk from the communications manager to the 2811 gateway, and then set up FXO and PRI interfaces to connect to the PSTN. Now, as you can see from the diagram here, on the PSTN extensions, 8200 is set up for the FXO 010 and 7200 is for the PRI. So when we set up our dial plans, we can have it where we set up as many digits as we want for the actual dial string, but whether we do it in Communications Manager or at the gateway, we want to make sure just those last 4 digits are sent across to be successful. So to begin, let's set up our SIP trunk from Communications Manager to the 2811, and as you can see, this is 192.168.202.2. So we're going to go over here to trunk, and we're going to create a new SIP trunk here. Choose next, and this one we can call the CME 2811 SIP trunk to gateway. And most of these we can keep defaults. See, so this is for inbound. If you want significant digits, how many do you want to collect? Same with outbound. And the IP address is 192.168.202.2. And we'll give this the standard non-secure SIP trunk profile as well as the standard SIP profile. And save that. Reset. All right, now in that case, we're pretty much done there. Then what we'll want to do is let's go over to our call routing. Now, normally, you can create the hunt groups with lists. In this case, I'm just going to do direct route patterns for time. But if you want to see some other examples of this, we can do that. Right now, the only one we have defined here is 7000 to voicemail. And that's when, if you're watching the playlist, that was one of the previous videos where we sent the call via SIP to Unity connection for our voicemail. So here we are going to say add new, and let's just say we'll say 303.555, and for the FXO 8200. Actually, let's just do XXXX. That's a variable, so any value will work there. And we'll say we'll call this a 303.555 PSTN, and the gateway that we're going to use is the CME 2811 that we just created. We're going to route this, and we're going to say we don't need. I'm not adding any extra digits or using a 9 to dial out, so we'll just say this is. I'll uncheck the provide outside dial tone. If I had, this is where you can choose any digits you want removed. So I'm just going to hit save here, and OK, and OK, and I'm going to create another one. We'll call this 202.555 XXXX. And we'll send this one to the CME 2811. And again, uncheck the dial tone and save. Now we could have just created the 4-digit extension too. I'm just giving this as an example so we can do some digit manipulation. All right, so looks good here. We got our two prefixes sent or set up to be sent to the call manager router. So we'll go ahead and open our PuTTY session here and log into the 2811. And maybe let me change the font on here, so make it a little bigger. Let's see. See if that's any better. I'll make this full screen. And then the username and password's the same. Alright, and so now that we're logged in, let me just show you, this is a very vanilla configuration right now. Essentially all there is a host name, the username, admin and freelab, the interface with the IP address, and a static route for the default gateway, and the VTY setup for Telnet. Other than that, there's no other configuration on here. Now, this is iOS version 15.1, and this version has a toll feature. So normally what we'll do is create dial pairs for inbound, outbound for each leg of the call. I'm not going to create a SIP dial pair. In this example, we're just going to send a straight SIP call to the gateway and then have it use the dial pairs that we create for the TDM, for the FXO and PRI. Now, in version 12 and one of the early versions of 15, I don't remember specifically which one, but without the toll fraud feature, you could send a call in there and it will just automatically look up. Now it's basically there's an implied deny all access list, essentially, that if there isn't a defined dial pair with the matching IP address defined, if it's a SIP trunk, or if there's a trust list that's created, and if the IP or subnets aren't specified there, it's going to deny the calls by default. So for the SIP side of things, if we go to config T and voice service VoIP, we'll want to say allow connection SIP to SIP, because at this point we're going SIP from the call manager to the gateway. And then if we wanted to disable the toll fraud feature, one thing you could do is say no IP address trusted authenticate. Cisco doesn't recommend that you do that, but if you just wanted it to behave like the old version 12 does and let anything go, that's one thing you can do. Or you could go into this, and as you can see, you could say IP address trusted, and authenticate. Well, I mean, that's actually where we're at. If we do a IP address trusted list, that brings you into another sub category, and here we can say IPv4 192.168.202.211, for example. If we want to just specify that host, or we could do a range, and you can just keep adding them. So, 212 for the subscriber and whatnot. And so let's see, show run section voice service. All right. So that looks good. We should be able to send SIP calls without the toll fraud kicking in. And then we need to set up our dial pairs and PRI. So if we do show voice call summary, you can see right now we only have the FXO ports defined, and there's no serial interfaces defined. So what we can do is go to config T and see controller T1000. Oh, before, actually, I've already set this up before, but just like if you've never seen this before, if you do do show inventory, here's where you can see, okay, we've got here on slot 0, subslot 0, is our VWIC 2 multiplex trunk T1 card, and on slot 0/1 is our FXO port, and that's why if you look at the right here, the 010 and 011, that's where that comes from. So we got subslot 0/1, and there's 2 ports, so 1 and 2. Then we have the PVDM264. This is for the digital signal processing to convert the digital or analog to VoIP and back. And then we also have the AIM-CUE module for Unity Express. But right now we're going to focus on the T1. So we're going to go into the controller like we just did. So we went to this controller T1000, and we'll set the PRI group for time slots 1 through 24, defining the channels. And okay, so for the switch type, we can define that globally. So if we go out here to the main interface, we could say ISDN switch type, and if you hit question mark, these are the different traditional TDM switch formats you can use. In this case, I'm just going to say primary NI, and then now go back to our controller. Oops. So order of operations is actually important. One of the things we have to define is when for your clocking source, are you going to provide timing, or are you going to get it from the provider? And in this case, I have it set up for the provider. So what we can do is say, come out here, say network clock participate. We'll say WIC 0, and network clock select, and we'll say priority 1 is going to be T1000. Now we go to the controller, and we'll say PRI group time slots, group time slots 1 through 24. Now this will automatically then create the serial interfaces, and let me turn on the terminal monitor as well, because now if we do show IP in brief, now you can see all these serial interfaces here. And if you do show voice call summary, now you see we got the 000, 23 being the counting from 0 to 23. So 23 here is actually 24 where the D channel is, and then channels 0 through 22 are your B channels. But they have them listed here as the dot 1 through 23. So let's start with our the FXO port. So we're let's go out here. Oh, and let's do a show ISDN status. All right, multiple frame established. That's what we want to see. And if you do show ISDN service, you can see that all the B channels are idle under the channel state, and the service state is zeros for in service. So all good there. So now let's first do the FXO, like I was saying. So we'll say I'll go into config here and dial peer voice 10, and we'll specify. And here we specify: do we want VoIP for SIP trunk or whatever, or POTS for the TDM style. So in this case, it's POTS. And we can say the destination destination dash pattern. We could give it the 4 digits, for example. So we could say or actually let's give it all 3. 303, 555, and for the FXO 8200. So if it matches this, actually we could actually do it the same way. 303, 555, XXXX. In Call Manager, it's XXXX, and here it's going to be ... So Cisco is definitely consistent at being inconsistent in their formats. And then we'll define where we want to send this. So in this case, we want to send it to port 010, because that's what we have here. Now, by default, if you had a SIP trunk, it's going to forward all the digits as is. With the TDM style, by default, it's not going to send any digits. So in this case, we need to specify which digits we want to send. So for that, we'll say forward digits, and how many? Do you want to send them all or only a few? And it will go from right to left. So in this case, when the 303, 555, 8200 come in, we just want the last 4 digits sent. So we're going to choose 4 digits of 4. We'll end, and then show voice dial or show dial pure voice summary. All right, so now we can see that if anything comes in with 303, 555, XXXX, it's going to send it out this port 010. So let's actually make a quick test call and put on the headphones, make sure that this works. Now, if any of you that are using this lab, if you ever have it set up and it you close IP communicator, and when you launch it and then remote desktop in again, and it says that the audio can't be found. I'm not sure why that is, but sometimes I have to go in via the console to launch it, and then remote desktop works. It's just a little quirk I came across. So if that happens, just let me know, and I can get that fixed for you. But in the meantime, let's dial 303, 555, 8200. See what happens.
Congratulations, you have successfully placed the call across the FXO analog port 0/1/0. Yeah.
I forgot to warn you that I nerd out on this sometimes a little bit.
Answered as quickly as possible.
Alright, so now if we do the show voice call summary, you can see we got the call pinned up here on 010, and it's on the FXO port. Awesome. Alright, we'll disconnect that. Alright, and then now let's set up our PRI, and we'll do the same thing, except this time we'll say, let's see, go to config T, dial peer, voice 20 pots, and destination pattern is going to be 82, or what was it, 202, 555, ... And our 4 digits were 4, and this time it's going to be on port 00023. Enter. And end, and see, voice call, show dial peer voice summary. All right, so now we got our second dial peer. So let's go ahead and try to make another test call. And that was 7200.
Congratulations, you have just completed a call over the PRI interface on serial 0/0/0. Now, is your call on channel 23? Is it on channel 1? Are there any configuration changes you can make to make the call hit another channel? Give it a shot and make another test call.
Thank you for calling.
All right, so if we do show voice call summary, we can see this is on channel 23. And if we do show ISDN service, we can see that now here under the channel state for 23, it is busy because we have a call up on it. Another thing that you could do is if you do show voice, DSP voice, exclude none, this will show you which DSP resource is actually being used. It doesn't come up too often, but I've had some cases before where there would be like post-dial delay and calls, or there'd be no audio and different things. And one of the things that I would see here is that the voice port on the DSP was in use, and then on the D channel, it would say, and actually, let me show you that too. But it would say like, resource not available. And so if you compare the, for example, if this said 0, like it's idle, but then you have this voice port that's showing on the DSP that it's in use, you'll see these packet counts in one direction be like a huge number to 1, and then that's usually, some type of a bug or glitch. And if you just busy out that B channel, then that will usually fix it. But just thought I'd throw that out there. But let me actually disconnect the call and let's do a debug voice, or debug ISDN Q931, and this will show all the layer 3 messaging on the ISDN. So now if we place our call again,
congratulations, you have just completed a call over the PRI interface on.
All right, so now we can see our setup message. The calling is from 2001 with the called party as 7200, and then you've got your call proceeding, and then connected and connected acknowledgement. Now we'll disconnect it, and now that call is disconnected. And then the other one you could look at is debug. Let's do events and make the call again.
Congratulations, you have just completed a call over the PRI interface on serial 0/0/.
All right. Let's see, I don't know. I think messages is actually what I wanted to show you, because then you'll actually see the original called dialed number.
Congratulations, you have just completed a call over the PRI.
All right, so even if I stop it here.
0/0/0. Now, is your call on channel 23? Is it on?
So here we can see the invite message that came in, and going to the 202.555.7200. So that's how it actually came into the router. And then when it hit the TDM side, on that dial peer, it stripped those first 7 digits and just left the trailing there. Now, based on the message that's being played, it was talking about, what channel did it come on, and in this case, when we did the show voice call summary, it was hitting channel 23 every time. Let me just redial here.
Congratulations, you have just completed a call.
So you see the call keeps coming out here every time.
/0/0/0. Now, is your call on channel 23? Is it on channel 1? Are there any configuration changes you can make to make the call hit another channel? Give it a shot and make another test call.
Okay, so in that regard, let's we can go over to our config T, go to our interface serial 00023, and say ISDN B channel order, and you can say ascending, so from lower up to descending. Since we didn't specify that before, descending is the default, so we can use ascending. Now if we place another test call.
Congratulations, you have just completed the call over the PRI interface on serial 0/0.
Now we can see that it is on channel 1.
Is it on channel 1?
And we can do our show
changes you can make to make the call hit another channel.
or
Make another test call.
show voice DSP voice exclude none. So so yeah, so this is testing. Here, let me disconnect this. So this was a quick look at setting up the SIP trunk, some route patterns, digit manipulation to get the call off to the PSTN via FXO or PRI. We'll do another video for SIP, and because I was trying to think of a good way to do it, because depending on your provider, some of them are authenticate via IP, some don't require registration, some do require registration, some require a P-asserted identity on all your calls, even if you have different DNs that you're sending from. So I'm going to work on try to get a virtual PSTN set up to cover all of those, and then we can go through each of those scenarios together in the configuration. Also, for setting up CME and Cube, this is a Gen 1, and I'm going to try to get a Gen 2, only because there's a few commands that are a little bit different in the Gen 2 ISRs for the Cube configurations, which it will still work on this one, but if you're studying for, I mean, I'm not sure what version offhand is on the collaboration exams, but even in the real world, the Gen 1s are end of life, so you're going to come across Gen 2s, and that's probably, you want to get familiar with those specifics. So I'll see what I can do to try to get one of those. But in the meantime, thanks for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.